kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah! You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets.
Yeah, there we go. Gunny Gunderson's in the house, the Thursday thick of it. We are back here talking about some actual news this week, Gunny. Not a bad deal. This is a nice, refreshing way to talk about the Jets. How you doing tonight, my good friend?
I mean, I'm doing better than I was, day one, and day two. You know what I'm saying? From the last couple of days have been a lot nicer to us as Jets fans. But overall, I'm doing good. I think we still got some work to do. I'm nowhere near satisfied with the current way of things. I think we need to put some more pieces around this offense really for us to have a chance next year. So I feel good about it. And I have a feeling that JD is not done cooking. And I'm just going to be patient to go ahead and let the man cook.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. JD's not done cooking. He's maybe not done things the way we wanted to in the urgent way that we were hoping. We wanted Joe Douglas to NFL meeting rooms, grabbing dudes on the way, and he didn't do that. But he also did some things we didn't expect, like creating a trade for a guy who wasn't even on the market. He was on none of our radar because he wasn't available, and here we go. We got ourselves a right tackle that we're familiar with, and we'll talk about him a little bit more. But yeah, so it's an interesting thing. I put a poll in there for everybody. Let us know how you feeling so far. It's actually day 2 of free agency, but day 4 of free agency. You know, that old thing goes. But yeah, let us know what you think so far, and we'll have a good time tonight. There's lots of interesting things to discuss. I got some feelings about today. Where Corey Davis is concerned. We have some CJ Mosley news. We have some signings. And not for nothing, maybe, just maybe, during the show, we'll get another signing. Joe Douglas likes to work late, as we know, so we'll talk about that stuff. Guys, I'm so happy that you're here. Jay-Z, Jets fan, stopping in to beat Dakota up top. Jay-Z, don't underestimate Jay-Z, Jets fan. He comes in first often himself. So good to have you, my friend. Who came? Kareem Carson. What a jerk off, Kareem. I was just gonna say Kareem, the perpetually negative jerk that just hangs around and doesn't care, finds a way to shit on everything. Chris 716 is here. Winterich is here. I'm doing all right, man. It's nice to have you here. Shawnee Rock. Look at that. Not bad. There's Dakota. He's 5th. Hey, if you ain't first, you're last, Dakota. That's what I heard. Anyway, I heard if you ain't first, you're last. AJ Osborne's in the house. Who else is here? Nick Shine. Look at this. He's all bent out of shape. We lost Curtis Samuel. Not only did we lose Curtis Samuel, we lost him to the Bills, which is just never fun. Papa Yeti in the house. Oh, my good friend from the UK, Phil Adams is back. Good to see you. And Curly Norman and 19 New York Jet 69. That's hard to say for me. I don't know what it is, 69. I struggle with that.
New York Jet 69.
Right? It's tough.
Yeah, it's a tongue twister. It's a tongue twister. That's what it's called.
A. Mitch is here. Our good friend Hank in the house. Who else we got? Sluggo's back and so many others. Bradigan from Chicago in the house. It's good to have you guys here. I want to, before we get started, I want to remind everybody about the ever-present need to hit the milk thumbs. If you'd be so kind to hit that like button for us, it would be greatly appreciated. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do. That is also appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe and support Gunny and Tigo and Dom C and Jeremy and all those guys. The links are in the description. We also have a guest tonight, the one and only Connor. His link is in the description as well. Don't forget to support that channel. He'll be on in just a minute, and we'll get to chopping it up with him. But before we do, guys, don't forget to save 15% with the hydration multiplier Liquid IV, everybody. The promo code greenbeanjetsfan. The link is in the description to get to their site. All of your hydration needs can be taken care of right there on their website, and you can save 15% off your entire order by using the promo code greenbeanjetsfan. Why not save money, man? Get away from the Gatorade and the Powerades and the whatever else they got out there. Sugar water.
All those
This is the
sugars.
real deal. You know what I mean, Gunny? This is the real deal right here. I don't know about this one in particular, crisp apple, but you can pick whatever flavor you want, man. So anyway, Liquid IV, everybody. So with that said, let's go ahead and bring on our guest. Gunny, you ready for the guest tonight? We haven't had a guest in a while, man.
It's been a while. It's been a very long time.
Yeah. So we're kind of breaking the seal a little bit with the young buck in our Jets content crew. Let's say hello. I've yet to have an online conversation with them. Well, email, but not YouTube. So this is going to be great. I'm really excited. Let's say hello to the one and only Connor. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, Bean. Great to be on your show. Gunny, great to see you.
What's
You were on
up,
my
Connor?
show
How you
last
doing,
week.
man?
Love talking with you. Obviously, I did the call with you on Sports Brew Network, which was great. But great to be on. Really appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, this is cool. I love the Corbett jersey you have back there.
Thank you.
I have my Corbett signed picture right here. The
Nice.
one and only Wayne Corbett. I got to
He's a legend.
he really is, man. And for a guy who's not even an undrafted free agent, a
Yeah.
walk-on,
Mhm.
to become what he's become, it's just so great that we still appreciate him. And I'm happy to see the next generation, if you will, Connor, appreciating Wayne Corbett as well. That's super cool. So look, dude, let's get to the first thing I want to ask you about. So overall, what are your feelings about free agency so far?
So I thought we came out a little slow day one. Didn't really do anything until the night, which I was okay with. I think we're having good free agency so far. I'll break it down. I think Javon Kinlaw's a good signing. I think we gave him a little too much money. I think Tyrod Taylor was an incredible signing. Great guy. Need to bring him in. Quarterback too. Very, very solid. And then Tyler Sampson, if you look at his film, that guy's really, really solid. I like him. I think he's good guard out of Baltimore. And then you bring in Lakey Fatu the next day, who'll compete for defensive tackle 4. And then you have a guy like Morgan Moses, who I absolutely love. I mean, we're kicking ourselves when we let him go, and bringing him in, I really, really like it. So I think they're doing a solid job so far. I do, like Gunny mentioned earlier, do think the Jets can't stop, and I think the Jets need to go out. But I really like the Mosley extension. Then obviously there was some news from Zach Rosenblatt that the Jets are looking to possibly shop Lazard, which I found really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I find it interesting as well because look, you look at our last couple years with the quarterback that we've had mainly starting for us, one Zachy Poo Wilson. It seems like whoever has come over here with him outside of Garrett Wilson has struggled. Whether it's Corey Davis, he comes off of pretty much 1,000-yard season. We sign him. He can't seem to catch Zach Wilson's passes. Lazard comes over. He had 60 catches or so the last year with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, comes over here, and he's so bad we got to bench him. And, and we see that consistently over the past few years. And it's, I don't know. I would think that they'd want to give him a shot to re-engage with Aaron Rodgers. But maybe he's made a little bit of a stink. He's like, you know what? I don't appreciate how you guys did me last year, and I want out of here. Maybe that's what's going on. You think Alan Lazard maybe wants out of here, Connor?
Actually, it was good timing earlier today. Zach Rosenblatt tweeted that out 3 minutes before he came on my show tonight. So we actually got to discuss that a little bit on what maybe the package can kind of look like. And he said he's struggling to find a suitor for who would possibly want Lazard. And he said if we found a suitor, it would be a situation where we'd have to give up Lazard and a pick probably to get something in return. Found that really interesting. It's just because the contract. I don't think anyone's going to go after him. If he was on a cheaper deal, he would gauge interest from other teams, I think. But I really find the Corey Davis thing intriguing. Talked to Zach a little bit about that. He said he could definitely see Corey Davis coming back, as he said they quote unquote love him in that building, and they would have brought him. They would have brought. He said he thinks they would have possibly brought him back midway through the season if he wanted to come back. Found that interesting. Corey Davis though was released, so we'd have to bring him back on a new deal. I personally don't see it happening just because, I really don't want it to happen unless he's going to be a wide receiver stretch 3, maybe 4 guy, just because,
Yep.
a year off of football is just so much. And he was having drop issues when he was playing football day in and day out. I mean, the drops are probably going to get worse. Someone mentioned that the other night, and I was like, wow, that's a really good point. And a year off is just crazy. And, if he's going to be if he's going to want to come in, play for a cheap contract, to be a 4 guy, make Gibson and Brownlee 5 and 6, cool with that. But definitely not a 2-3 guy.
Yeah, that's how I see it too. And here, I got to be honest, I'm a little bit bent out of shape about this whole thing. Like, we already know that Joe Douglas decided not to get a single drop of value for Bryce Huff, which pisses me off. You got a young player going into his prime who is of high value at a premium position, and we just go, hey, he's a good dude, let's let him go. I hate that. It bothers me to my core. And now here we are again. We have a wide receiver who we were counting on last year. Whatever happens, look, I don't judge anybody for their personal situation, and glad it seems to be taken care of and all that. But the truth is, he left us at the altar. You know what I mean? He just kind of all of a sudden we didn't have a wide receiver too. And now he comes back, and we're like, we'll just let him go. No. You get a 6th for him. Get a 7th for him. Get something for this guy, or you stay right here. You go nowhere. You don't play. You don't do that. You come back to the Jets as, like Connor just said, the wide receiver 4 on a cheaper deal, or we shop you. I don't like that we just release him, man. It just doesn't make sense to me. Gunny, what do you think about that? You think we should be getting something for Corey Davis, or is it just like, he's a nice fella, let's let him go?
I was surprised when I saw that he got released. I ain't gonna lie. I figured they would at least attempt a restructure of his contract. And again, I'm all about Corey Davis being on this roster. I think the wide receiver room is significantly lacking. I believe he's an upgrade from an Allen Lazard. I would argue that I'd be comfortable with Corey Davis as the 3. The 2, no, we need another individual in there for the 2. But the contract matters. I'm with you guys on that one. I do feel like he turned his back on his team last year when we all had a lot of things going. We felt really good about the wide receiver room, and in the back end of it, he just went ghost on us. So there's a little bit of animosity there. And as a fan base, you know what I'm saying, we hold grudges. So I would like to keep him a Jet. I didn't like they released him, because now if he decides to sign with somebody else, we in essence get nothing for him. And we're still stuck with Allen Lazard, who I really don't think we could even argue anymore that he's no more than a wide receiver 4. This was a guy that when he came in here, people were comparing him being wide receiver 2 to Corey Davis, when we saw Corey Davis get 1,000 yards with Ryan Tannehill, whereas Allen Lazard, with Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball, has never achieved more than 850 yards in a season. So I had my reservations about him being a wide receiver 2 then. I felt more he slotted into a wide receiver 3 with Corey Davis behind Garrett Wilson. Threw the whole thing out of whack when he left. So I was very, very salty about it. I'm about him being a Jet. Again, like y'all said, cheap contract, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. But just releasing him today didn't make any sense to me, because in essence now he has free reign to really do what he wants to do.
Yeah, it bothers me, man. It bothers me on an intrinsic level, Gunny.
Yeah.
Truman Theodore Demel coming in with an interesting question. I'll bounce it to you first, Connor, and then I want to hear what Gunny thinks as well. And then I'm going to drop my little knowledge on this. I got a guy in mind. If you could be Joe Douglas, who would you absolutely steal in NFL free agency? Who do you think, Connor? Who's your guy?
It's an interesting question, because you can go in so many different positions, and for me, one guy who I really like, he's not going to be a steal because he was just released, but he's pretty obvious. Mike Williams, I think, would be a great guy to come in and pick up, get him, or they can go in another direction and they can maybe go on the tackle market. I don't see Tyron Smith, but they can maybe get like a Bakhtiari and a Donovan Smith, and maybe they can start and we can go with a playmaker at 10 rather than coming in and getting a Fashanu, Fuaga type of guy. But, the names that we've been talking about for a long time, I like someone at the two guys at the safety positions I really like. I don't think Joe Douglas will go out and pay for Justin Simmons $11 million a year, but I really like him. He is top-notch safety. Well, I think Cam Curl is another really solid option. The safety market this year is just crazy deep, and hopefully the Jets need to make an addition. I'm being told by Rosenblatt and some other guys that they don't think Ashton Davis is going to be back next year, which we kind of expected. They think he's going to pursue an opportunity where he can start. Definitely need to make additions to the safety room, but a steal, personally, if I look at the free agent market, I think it was someone we already brought in. I think it was Tyrod Taylor. I applaud Joe Douglas for that move. He went out night one, practically, and kind of got Tyrod Taylor, who I really like Taylor. Last year, I thought he was one of the backups in all of football. The thing that I like about him is he could throw and he can move. So he can move around in the pocket, throw. I believe his touchdown to interception ratio is 4-3, and he's a proven backup. He's shown he can come in and produce numbers when needed. So I really like that move, and I like I've liked most. I haven't really complained about any of the moves Joe Douglas has made yet, other than like Lakey Fatu, just because that move didn't make any sense. I'd rather re-sign Solomon Thomas than pay him.
Right. Yeah, no, and I think I didn't love the money that we gave to Kinlaw. I actually wanted Kinlaw. He was on my list, but I didn't love the money we gave him. But other than that, I tend to agree with you. I think so far so good with the players we brought in. I just want to see a little bit more. Gunny, who's your guy and maybe steal is a tough word to apply, but who's the guy you want to see Joe Douglas go out there and get? If you were in his shoes, who would you go get rather?
I think the answer right now is going to be twofold for me. I don't think Tyron Smith is in the cards. I know a lot of people want him to be the guy. I think it's Bakhtiari, and I definitely think Mike Williams. I think Williams being released opens up an opportunity for this freaking offense to really take the next step. This guy is probably the king of 50-50 balls since coming into the league. We understand that he's had some injury concerns, and bringing him to MetLife, that's kind of terrifying. But in terms of what he brings to the offense, I think it's an immediate impact. You take pressure off of a guy like a Garrett Wilson, a guy like a Breece Hall. You can only get better by adding a guy like Mike Williams, who's going to go ahead and scare defenses, because, again, when it comes to the 50-50 ball, it might as well be 80-20 because the guy just doesn't seem to miss. So Mike Williams, to me right now, is my favorite. I know it's going to be costly, which is why I think Joe Douglas might avoid it. But I really want him, and I would love Bakhtiari in here. And I still think at 10 we go freaking offensive tackle. There's nothing we can do in the offseason, in my opinion, where offensive tackle isn't the pick at number 10. I don't see it. I want to go ahead and solidify that freaking offensive line, have a young AVT, have a young Tippmann. You have a young left tackle, the franchise left tackle. Aaron Rodgers has maybe 2 more years in him. We're going to need some studs in front of the next quarterback that comes through here. At the end of the day, weapons are cute. They're great, but if the quarterback can't stay upright to go ahead and get the ball to him, it means nothing. We've seen what a guy like Tua with 2 number 1 wide receivers does with it. Nothing. We've seen a guy like freaking having a brain fart. Old boy in Philadelphia Eagles quarterback. Wow. Y'all Hurts. Hurts.
Yeah,
We've seen Hurts with 2 number 1 wide receivers achieve nothing. They made it to a Super Bowl, but cool. We want to win one, right? So for me, look, the goal is to win one. So for me, I think offensive line. You get a Bakhtiari, you can get a Mike Williams, and the number 10 overall pick goes to the best offensive tackle available, preferably Alt or Alashana.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I am also of the thought that we have to go O-line. Like, it's of vital importance. Now, I wouldn't poo-poo the fact that the Eagles have been stellar and made it to a Super Bowl, and they won a Super Bowl in recent memory, and they made it to one. Look, our big claim to fame is 2 AFC championship games back to back. So for a team that's as good as we get, I'll take getting to the Super Bowl, but I gotta say, if we get there and lose, I don't know how I'll handle that one, Gunny. I gotta be honest.
I think that's gonna hurt a
my
lot.
guy is Tyler Boyd, dude. I've had it. I'm with the offensive line. I do think Bakhtiari is coming. I would love Tyron Smith, but I think the guy that we have to go out there and get is Tyler Boyd already. He's a professional number 2 wide receiver. He's been number 3 for the past few years behind Chase and Higgins. The guy still produces. Imagine that if our wide receiver 3 gave us 67 receptions for 676 yards or whatever it was and 2 touchdowns. Imagine that's our number 1 wide receiver for the past 15 years prior to Garrett Wilson. So I would be delighted to add Tyler Boyd to this mix and then use our 3rd on a wide receiver. But yeah, man, that's where I'm going. E-Boogie says, time for the Jets to take over and trade the future, Connor. So E-Boogie's a fan of utilizing some of the 2025 draft picks to either move up or to get a second or whatever it might be. He likes this draft. He thinks this is the year to do it. We have Aaron Rodgers. There are no guarantees for years after this. What would you say if Joe Douglas was entertaining maybe pulling from the 2025 draft pick pool to kind of get us going this year? You in favor of that?
You know, I've actually talked about it a ton. I'm in favor of it. I agree with E-Boogie here. I would give up next year's 2 to trade up 3 picks and go get Joe Alt. Personally, I think that would be a great move. I think Joe Alt is generational, and I'd give up next year's 2 and 10 to go up, get Alt. I really like him. And then, you know, Harrison I really like, but I don't see the Jets jumping up in general, but I agree with E-Boogie what E-Boogie is saying there, but you know, it's so hard to predict what's happening in the draft. If you look at these analysts, Jeremiah had Odunze going 3 in his recent mock draft, which that's supposed to be Marvin Harrison. And then what's his name? Oh, I'm blanking. Bucky Brooks had the in the top 7. He had 5 of them being offensive linemen, which is crazy. And you know, and these are pro draft analysts, so like we don't know what's going to happen in the draft. Several things can happen. I've seen some simulators where Jaden Daniels falls to 10. I don't know how that would happen on draft night, but there are so many different scenarios that can happen. But going back to E-Boogie's question, I would like to trade up, and then I would also like to trade down possibly. Someone I like is Troy Fatanu. I saw Paulie put it in the chat. Troy Fatanu in that 18 kind of 20 area. I really like him. You can kind of move him around. Has had a solid year, good pro day, good combine. Really like him, and I think he's someone of the Jets' interest.
Yeah, sliding down. Totally. The whole jump up for all. I'll tell you why it bothers the hell out of me. Because the end of the season, when we're winning games that don't mean anything, and we could have, if we would, I know I'm like a broken record, but if we would have just not won that Washington game and just let the Patriots game go, we have the number 2 pick.
Yeah.
And what we could do with that, baby, with all these quarterbacks, we could have just fortified the future and had a second and 2 firsts and all kinds of fun stuff. But here we are. Now we're going to have to trade up to get the guy that we want. It bothers me, Connor. I can't deal with it. Jetsmet's coming in. Gunny, he's a little bit conspiratorial here. He thinks that shopping Lazard means Aaron Rodgers is going to be the vice presidential candidate. What do you think? Is Aaron Rodgers going to be our quarterback in 2024, Gunny?
Listen, I first saw this and of course I had to laugh at it. I was just like, this could only be something associated with the Jets. You wouldn't see this happening to 31 other organizations, but for the Jets, it's right down our alley, right? So I don't believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the vice presidential candidate or running mate with Robert F. Kennedy. I think it's comical that it's coming up right now. I think it's comical that it's another storyline added into this this offseason. But I won't lie. We're hearing Robert F. Kennedy actually go on air and talk about Aaron Rodgers and why he's such a phenomenal potential running mate for him did kind of worry me a little bit today when I saw that. There was a sense of panic, so I can't pretend like now I'm not sweating a little bit, because with Aaron Rodgers, you really don't freaking know. He's just cuckoo enough to think, you know what, I could be the vice president of the United States, vice playing football. Like, This tears me up, man, because in all actuality, I went from laughing at it to seeing the Robert F. Kennedy thing today on CNN. I think it was CNN on Fox. And I was like, he really brought up Aaron Rodgers and why he would be the outstanding running mate. And he's going to announce the person he's selected on March 28th. So now I'm stressing until March 28th because now I don't know what I thought I knew, is that Aaron Rodgers wouldn't do us like that. But then again, it's Aaron Rodgers. So it's very plausible that he could do us like that. So then hearing them shopping Lazard, I want to say it's because Corey Davis decided to come back, and there's probably some stuff in the background that they've already discussed about re-signing him. And they're trying to go ahead and just get rid of Lazard because he's not going to be getting any playing time. So I'm going to tie it to that. I'm going to tie it to the fact that Corey Davis is back in the fold. They want to go ahead and re-sign him, which is why Lazard is now dispensable. Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
The whole thing. It would be the peak of the jetsiness that this franchise. I mean, no fan base. Yeah, Connor, you're new to dude, and it's already ridiculous. the baloney that we as a fan base, I mean, I love, like, I make an Instagram post and there's always like a Bears fan, or they go, try being a Bears fan. I'm like, dude, get out of here. Like, or a Panthers fan. Dude, you've been to the Super Bowl in my life. I don't want to hear it. Like, nobody has a quarterback that we trade for, Hall of Fame, plays every game of every season, comes here, we get 4 plays, then we're going to get him back, and he goes and he leaves to be the vice presidential candidate. I mean, there's nobody deals with this crap. I don't want it to, I don't even want to entertain it, Jets Mets. I really don't, and I'm not gonna. But here's the problem I have. Aaron Rodgers did speak. He responded to the CNN thing about Sandy Hook. I think that was today.
That was today.
Why
Said
didn't
nothing.
he say the other? Why? Come on, give us a warm blanket, damn it.
Something.
He won't do it. I don't know. It's killing me. Tigo, where was that? Tigo's saying that the Jets aren't shopping Lazard. They're just listening to offers. If they include Lazard, they're not actively trying. Well, I heard otherwise. I mean, Connor, who did you talk to? Was it Rosenblatt?
Yeah, so Rosenblatt came on my show at 5:30 tonight, and at 5:27 he put out that tweet about Lazard, and obviously he's saying this from Connor Hughes, I believe. He said, Connor Hughes, great, I love Connor. Obviously, him and Rosenblatt are kind of
buddies.
No, not actually. Yeah, well, now they're both beat writers, so they get along, but apparently Rosenblatt saying sources told him and Rossini, so like the whole athletic crew, that the Jets are, I think I can find the tweet, but it said something, the Jets are actively shopping Lazard, and what he told me is, he said they're gonna take calls on him, but it's gonna be difficult for them to find a suitor for Lazard, and like I said earlier, they would probably have to give up a pick to get Lazard just based off the contract, because I mean, who would want to pick up a deal with 3 years left that entails $11 million a year? Like, what team would want to do that? So we would probably have to give up a pick, and I'd be okay with that if we could just get Lazard just off the hook. And here's the tweet. I have it up here. This is from Rosenblatt. The Jets have made Alan Lazard available in trade talks this offseason. Multiple teams and league sources tell me and Diana Rossini Lazard is due a $10 million salary this season. The Jets would save $3.4 million or $10 million post June 1 by trading him. So that's what Rosenblatt's saying.
All right. Well, hey, either way, I don't care if Lazard is here or not, as long as we fill it. We got some work to do, and I think it should all start with my boy Tyler Boyd. But who knows? We didn't get. I'll tell you what. What if the Jets end up pulling away with something crazy like Brandon Ayuk? I wouldn't be unhappy with that at all. I don't know if we can afford it, but who knows? Hey, Gunny, big fella. Acknowledging the debate you guys had. Big fella was all over the Milton thing last week. Says he appreciates the conversation. It was fun, and he respects your opinion. I don't respect Gunny's opinion. I don't know why you do, big fella.
That's what it's all about, big fella. Don't listen to GreenBean. He's lying. He does respect today. I appreciate that, man. Like, it was all fun, but I respect everybody's point of view. This is why I love the wonderful freedom of speech thing. We can all have a debate and have a conversation and disagree about things and not want to kill each other. I love that. So that was a fun debate. I still think Joe Milton is worth a late flyer. Maybe it's just me, but then again, who knows? If he winds up becoming a Jet and he sucks and we wasted a 7th on him, I'm not going to be upset about it. Yeah. But if he happens to be a decent backup quarterback, that's a win. That's a win if he becomes a decent backup with a 7th round pick. But
Joe Milton sucks, and I don't want him. But, hey, that Appreciate is good shit, big fella. Good stuff, man. E-Boogie checking in just says, yeah, I think he agrees with you, Connor. So he was right there with your answer. Good stuff, E-Boogie. Truman is back. He says, of all the Notre Dame players in the draft, who is the best Jets fit? Let me answer this one right off the bat. Now, this is not considered a strong running back class, so we're not going to see, likely anyway, a first, maybe even a second round running back taken. So if the running backs get pushed, I have to say, Audric Estime turns me on, man. I would love to bring that bruiser into the fray. Whether or not we do, Joe Douglas loves his 4th round running backs. So who knows? Maybe it's possible. Connor, you got any your sights on any Notre Dame players? Are you up on that, like by the school?
So Joe Alt, obviously he's the obvious one. You obviously have Sam Hartman, who, I mean, Dom C. I've heard him in spaces. I've heard him online. Dom C. really thinks that Sam Hartman's gonna go undrafted. I could see that. Audric Estime, I don't see the Jets going with him just because I think the running back class is really weak, and I don't see the Jets going running back in the draft. I see them picking up like a cheap guy in free agency. That's another hole they need to fill. I'd rather do that and keep Izzy at RB3 personally. That would be the ideal scenario for me. But Alt, Hartman, Estime, I guess is fine. But I'd rather get. I really like Frank Gore Jr. I really like him in like the 7th round. I'd take him over Estime.
Oh, I don't know, buddy. I don't know about that. Gunny, what are you thinking? I mean, Joe Alt is clearly right. I don't think he's going to make it to us, but yeah, what a delight that would be. You got your eyes on anybody else coming out of Notre Dame?
I mean, it's not really football related. I don't think he's going to be a guy, but the defensive end, Javante Jean-Baptiste, he's Haitian. So I was kind of intrigued to kind of see like what his numbers look like, right? So he and I share that common bond of being Haitian. But yeah, so I kind of looked at him, a very athletic guy, but I don't know if he's going to have the strength necessary to play at the next level. So it just might not be feasible for him to be the option. Honestly, I mean, Sam Hartman, I would say that I've heard, Dom talking about him as well. But other than that, man, it's just Joe Alt for me. There's a right guard, though. Is it Blake Fisher? No.
Yeah, Blake Fisher. Yeah, he's listed as he's a tackle, but he might bounce inside. Guard,
in the next level. I've seen some stuff about him potentially being an option. If we didn't have our guards situated, he might be a late round flyer you take on that guy. But for me, man, I think Joe Alt is the prize when it comes to Notre Dame players this year.
Skeetily do. It'd be great to land that guy, but I would not. I think he's a Titan, so I would. I mean, if he even makes it to 7, man.
Yeah, I think he's a top 5 guy. I think he's a top 5 guy in this draft.
Yeah. Here we go. Tigo helping us out here. Where is that? So, which one is it? Is it this one? So
yeah, that's the tweet.
Yeah, that's a tweet from Connor Hughes.
So what does it say? Hold on here. While Jets wide receiver Alan Lazard's name came up in trade discussion, the team is not actively shopping him, sources say. Okay, well, hey, Tigo, dropping it in here for us. Thank you, my good friend. I don't know how enticing. I mean, what does Alan Lazard add with his 11 million? I think he's 10 million this year, but what does he add to a trade? Unless somebody just thinks Zach Wilson sucks and that's the reason that passes are bouncing off his face. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Zach Wilson is not known for his touch. And again, it is a consistent thing, with wide receivers having or not even just wide receivers, but receivers, whether it's a running back, tight end, wide receiver, they have issue with Zach Wilson's passes. The velocity might not be appropriate for where you are on the field. He's kind of zipping it in there when you're 6 yards away, and he's throwing it 10 yards over your head. And I mean, who knows? I don't know. Maybe people will give him a pass for that. He was, he had a little bit of a case of the dropsies even with Aaron Rodgers, but still able to pull in some very, very impressive receptions and had, I think it was 60 plus. Maybe Tigo can correct me, but I think it was 60 plus receptions in 2022 with Aaron Rodgers. So again, I'd take that, man. I love a good 60 reception guy, even with some drops, but I don't know how enticing Allen Lazard is going to be in a trade. Like hypothetically, you're talking about Brandon Ayuk. You're going to have to give picks and everything else. The only thing that would make that work is that you're taking that salary away from the Niners. Yeah. And that's like the value for them, right? You're going to have to give a first, no doubt in my mind. But maybe you throw Allen Lazard in and they can get a receiver and they still cut half the salary or more so. I don't know, though. I don't see the value in an Allen Lazard being thrown into a trade. I don't know. Maybe you guys disagree. Do you disagree, Connor?
I agree with you. I don't really see that value there. And what NFL team would really want to look at him and pick him up? I mean, I just, the contract, obviously, like I said, Rosenblatt said to me, we'd probably have to give up a pick. But still with that, if I was any GM, I'm like, no thanks. You can keep Lazard. Like, there's no way the Jets are going to find a suitor. If they can't find a suitor for Zach Wilson, they're probably not going to find a suitor for Lazard. I think those two go hand in hand. I think Lazard's back on this team for 2024, and I do see Wilson getting cut.
You think about that, Connor. Last year, we watched every game. We were rooting, and Zach Wilson and Allen Lazard. Now we can't even give them away.
Yep.
And our hopes and dreams were dependent, and we can't even give them away. That just shows the situation we were really in last year. And for all the Zach homers, and if there are Lazard homers, I don't know. But it just shows where it really is. Again, we talked ad nauseum about the Zach Wilson effect. Defenses played the Jets the exact same way for 3 straight years. They stacked the box. They took away the running game. They clogged the lanes, and they just said, let the quarterback beat us if he can. And every now and then he'd pull together a really brilliant game, but never 2 in a row. And it just shows you can love him. You can believe in him. He's clearly a very talented. He's also very good looking, but that doesn't help us because nobody wants him. Nobody values him to the degree. They're not even willing to throw us a 7th for Zach Wilson and take on his money. So again, whatever your thoughts are and your feelings are for Zach Wilson, the proof is in the pudding by the way defenses played us. And now we can't give him away. So there's that. Who's this now? Euphoria checking in. What's up, buddy? Corey Davis, 84, better than Lazard. Love seeing we shop in that bum. Hey, we can shop. We can shop, man. It's like walking into Pier 1 with no money. You know what I mean? You can look. You can shop all you want. Whether or not you come out of there with a new table is a different story.
Different story.
Different story entirely. But I agree with you. And look, Corey Davis was frustrating too, man. He has a propensity. He doesn't just drop passes. He likes to bounce them into the air. I think the Zach's rookie year, 3 of his interceptions hit Corey Davis first. So that's not a good number, and not Corey Davis frustrates the hell out of me. But again, if he's going to leave us at the altar, I just want us to get something for the freaking guy. I don't care what it is, a 7th. Yeah. I don't care. You should say to him, this is a business. You want to come back? That's great. We'll do all that stuff, but we're either going to shop you or you're going to come back here for $5 million. And that's the way it is. Those are your 2 options, buddy. And if you don't like it, then go sit on your couch like you told everybody you were going to do with your brilliant post and your signature on Twitter last year and all that shit. So I don't know. Pisses me off, everybody. Jets, Mets, GreenBean, been satisfied with this free agency once you, Yaboa, my boy. Connor, I don't know if you remember, but in that draft, that was the 2021 draft. Admittedly, I would have taken Yaboa probably in the 4th round. I mean, I loved Kenny Yaboa coming out. He made it all the way to undrafted free agency, but he was our first undrafted free agent signing that year, which made me really excited. He was kind of my guy. And
Yeah.
he's coming around the mountain. What do you think about the Kenny Yeboah re-signing? Are you happy? Is it meh? What do you think about it?
So I think re-signing Yeboah is a good move. I see him as the tight end 3 next year. Honestly, I really do. I think Kuntz will be a practice squad guy again. But not to take the spotlight off the great Kenny Yeboah, but we re-signed Jake Hansen today, which
Ooh.
I loved that guy last year. That guy, I remember Laken Tomlinson it was the Commanders game. Laken Tomlinson had 14 pressures, being all pro, Joe Douglas's biggest find. And then Jake Hansen, who we picked up midway through the season, allowed 0 pressures, both playing guard. Really like him. Happy to bring him back. I know I said early in the year there's no way this guy's coming back, but this guy is a baller. And they do bring him back, so Yeboah and Hansen back. Like it. I also like Chuck Clark coming back. There's not one. The Jets haven't made a move in free agency that I'm like, oh, what are you doing? Like, I'm sure those will come this offseason, but I haven't seen one yet.
Yeah, Chuck Clark, the guy we have all kinds of hope. Another one comes to the Jets, has never missed a snap in his whole career. Comes to the Jets, doesn't even see one snap. I'll tell you, our luck is really something else. I like that re-signing too. But yeah, Yeboah, I think at the end of the year, I think most Jets fans are like, take him or leave him, right? They don't really care one way or the other. But when he came back at the end of the year, when we finally figured out, when Hackett finally figured out, holy shit, Breece Hall's pretty good, and I'm going to give him the ball. Which is just the craziest thing in the world.
It's still, I every time I hear it, I'm just like, wow.
It's crazy, man. I know just the fact that he would say that out loud. Yeah, we figured out in the Giants game there, Breece can be a weapon in the passing game. Like, oh my god! But so Kenny Yeboah was a big part of that late season surge. I mean, we had him in there for all those games, and he was sealing the blocks on the edge, really doing a great job. Which was the one question about Kenny Yeboah? His hands are not in question. He was a wide receiver turned tight end. He's got great hands. It was the blocking piece that was the question. He was laying some thunderous blocks. So I was really happy, and I'm glad that the Jets saw it because our tight end room is intact. I don't know if that means Brock Bowers is. I don't know. But our tight end room is solid, very strong. I'm happy with it. We have developmental young guys on there. Even Ruckert, young guy. Yeboah, young guy. Kuntz, young guy. Conklin's not exactly old, but he's a vet. Mm-hmm. I'm really happy. If Aaron Rodgers does play this year, I think that we're going to do real well. What's up, Tigo? What are you doing?
Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah, that's what Jadeveon Clowney saw it about 5-7 minutes ago. He's visiting the Jets and the Panthers. He's visiting the Jets next week, and he's visiting the Panthers right now, per Mike Garafolo.
You want Gunny? You want Jadeveon Clowney on this team?
I think this is one of those things where like it's his way of trying to up whatever offer he's trying to get at home. 31 years old, had a really good season last year, right? This is a guy who we can all agree never reached his full potential as a number 1 overall pick. But yeah, I'll never say no to a big-bodied guy who can get to the quarterback that's also stout in run stopping. That's where I look at him as an edge rusher that can go ahead and be a force in the run game as well. Yeah, no, I would love a Jadeveon Clowney, but I really believe that like this is more of him trying to leverage, I'm going to go to the Jets if the Panthers don't give him the number he's looking for. So I'm not going to get excited about this one. It's exciting news to hear that he's going to go see the Jets next week. Something tells me this is like a Hunter or a Kirk Cousins thing. He's just trying to go ahead and leverage us a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, up his stock.
Exactly.
Up his stock a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, would I be upset? No, but this isn't making me happy. It's not doing me. It's not what we want. I mean, again, we're looking at defense. I just want to see offense, man.
Yep,
I
same
just
here.
want to. You know what I mean?
Yep. It doesn't for me. If we did nothing defensively except for sign our safeties back, I'd have been happy with that. I think we're seeing what a top defense gets you. It's nothing. We're not winning. Even getting into the playoffs, the Browns had the number 1 defense last year. Well, how'd that work for them? We need offense. I want offense. I want us to kind of shift gears a little bit. I'm okay with being a top 10 defense as long as we can be a top 15 freaking offense. I think that's good enough for us to win a couple of playoff games.
Yes, I totally agree. That's what I've been saying. Get this offense to average, and this
Average.
team is perfect team because the defense is top 5, easy. The get the offense to top 15. That's around a top 10 overall team. You have a top 3, top 5 special teams unit. I mean, defense and special teams. I need Hardy back though. I really do. I need Hardy back next year. 1 year, $2 million deal. Just lock him in.
Yeah, I'd love to see that too. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. I mean, rumors are that the Jets aren't showing all that much interest in bringing him back. I don't know why. He's been quite literally. I mean, when you talk about a special teams ace, Hardy is it.
I agree. Samini told me on Monday that he was expecting Hardy to re-sign with the Jets within the next 24 to 48 hours. He said him and Morstead, but that was on Monday, and we're sitting here on Thursday, and a move still has not been made on Justin Hardy. And Samini also told me that Mekhi Becton has interest from at least 3 teams that he knows of on the free agent market. So it's almost official that Becton's not coming back.
Yeah, good. I hope. I mean, look, I like Becton. I wanted it to work. I supported him. But if he's going to go, I just hope he gets a big contract so it just factors into the comp pick formula. That's all I want at this point.
That's all I care about.
And good for him, man. Go out there and do what you can do, kiddo. You know, whatever.
Never a fan of that pick.
I don't wish you a success,
Whoa.
but I don't wish you to lose in life either.
Yeah, I don't wish him success. I don't wish anybody success.
Yeah,
Gunny.
if you're not a Jet, then I really don't wish you success anywhere else that you go.
That's right.
I mean, we could have had CeeDee Lamb. We could have had CeeDee Lamb in that draft. If you really think about it, I thought he was the way to go.
Well, I still maintain tackle was the way to go, but Wirfs was the pick, and we were all saying it on that was our first ever live stream together with O'Leary, Ryan, myself. We actually
talking Jets,
yeah, that was the first one we did, and we were all saying Wirfs is the pick. I didn't hate the Becton pick, but it was definitely a swing for the fences kind of thing. He was boom or bust, as they say, and we know what it ended up being for us. Definitely not boom. So that is what it is. We ended the poll. So 72% of the people in the chat say they are happy with free agency so far. And again, coming out of that first day or two, boy, oh boy, was the world on fire. So since then, we've done enough that most Jets fans are happy so far. Thursday, we still got some work to do, but I think not too bad. That's pretty good numbers for us. I didn't think it was going to be that high, quite frankly. Hennessy checking in. He says us Jets fans need to do better with this BS clickbait. What we should have done is not get season tickets because nothing moves the needle like money. Damn straight. But here's the thing. Just like everything else in the world right now, Hennessy, it's governed by fear. Everything's fear. If I don't buy my tickets, somebody else is gonna. We got to get together, man. And all of us refuse to buy any. We got to do it as a unit, but we can't do that. As soon as somebody doesn't buy it, somebody's going to buy it. And that's the thing. So we're stuck. But you're right. If we stop buying the products, if we stop buying the tickets, they'll listen to us. Woody Johnson has had a garbage team for the most part, a few great years, but overall garbage. And it went from a $600 million investment to a $6 billion asset. It's working, dude.
Why? Because of us.
Right.
We just keep giving them our money.
Win. We don't need to win here. He's still making billions. It doesn't matter. And we keep doing it. So, I mean, look, I've made my own little stands. I didn't buy anything during the what was it? I needed the first new thing I bought was when Adam Gase got fired. I just refused for years. I'm like, I'm done. And until this team gives me something to cheer for all through bowls, and I wasn't buying anything. But what is my $120 going to do? It's all by itself.
Yeah,
very little. But yeah, I mean, I think look, there's a lot of clickbait out there, but we know that Jets fans are probably the most responsive fan base. So somebody, if a beat writer in Arizona just goes, the Jets suck, and then 1,000 million people jump, fuck you, like that's
they hit their engagement quota for the quarter when that happens.
All they have to do is mention us, and we're all over it. So, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I used to make videos about it, but it's just the way we are. So, and they know it, and they know it. Truman checking back in. He says, Jean Baptiste is hungry. Great Jets fit.
Nah, he is.
Yeah.
That's the defensive end for Notre Dame that I was talking about.
Yeah. What do you think?
I don't know if you can. I mean, I guess you get him into a weight room. You never know, but very competitive guy. Very, very hungry. He's got the drive for it. You love his speed, but you need the size and strength to play defensive end. I don't know if he's got it.
Yeah. Well, all right. Let's move on here. We have some other big news today. I don't know if you guys heard, but CJ Mosley went from a $21 million 1-year contract to a $17.25 2-year contract. Gunny, I'll start with you. What are your feelings? You think extending Mosley was the right move? What do you got here?
Absolutely love it. I know a lot of individuals are saying cut him. You know what I'm saying? There's no more guaranteed money on the back end of his contract. But it would have been, I think, a $10 million cap hit. Either way, dead cap hit if we had cut him. I love Mosley, man. I think a lot of people look at Mosley and they're talking about, oh, he's old, like he's washed, he's not as fast as he used to be. But people forget that the guy has one of the highest football IQs in the game. And I think people devalue just how smart. There's another coach on the field right now with our very young defense that allows these guys to get in the position, get into place. I love it. The fact that he took a pay cut to stay here as a Jet, I hope the guy winds up, retiring as a Jet. I know he was a Baltimore Ravens pick, but I would like to see him retire as a Jet. I love how they did it. We saved $10 million in cap space for this season, and we gain, I think it's $7 million for next season from what the dead cap would have been. So I love it. I personally love it. I think it's great. He literally pulled an Aaron Rodgers, gave money back to go ahead and be a Jet. So I think it's great, and I think our defense is better because of it.
What do you think, Connor? How you feeling? You agree with Gunny?
I couldn't agree with Gunny more. The facts people were talking about cutting him was laughable. Like, I don't care if he had an off year, the leadership and all that. 2020, the COVID year, take that away. This guy is a very, very solid player. This guy, veteran linebacker. I give him credit for some of developing Quincy. I think he's helped Quincy a ton, and Quincy said it himself. So I think if we can get those two back, like, those two are relatively cheap, and those are both really, really solid players. So bring Mosley back, and happy. The only reason I thought of cutting him was the $21 million was a little appealing for me. The $21 million in cap room, like, if we could cut him and save, like, we saved 8 by cutting Lakin, and then saved 5.3 by cutting Uzama. But if we saved 21, that would have been nice. But at that point, we kind of knew, like, today on the Jets, there are really no big name. The only big one really left on the market is Tyron Smith, and there's a really small chance, in my opinion, that the Jets get him. So what would we cut him for to save what money? Like, I feel like we wouldn't use that money elsewhere unless we went and got Tyron Smith. So, I really like extending Lakin, and I think it's a great move by this Jets team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know people, like, I don't think it's arguable that he lost a little step, maybe a half step or so. We saw a really good example of that was the first half of the Cleveland game last year. And Njoku took Mosley to school, and he was trying. He was just not able to deal with it. They settled down. Second half was a different story. But I think CJ Mosley is unquestionably the leader of the defense, and he's still an absolute stud, even with that little bit of a loss in speed and all that. I think it's a great move, and I'd love to see him retire as a Jet as well, right in the same mold as the Marvin Joneses, Kyle Cliftons, Mo Lewises of the world. Just keep him. He's a great guy to have around. He's a very, very strong player, 5 Pro Bowls, I think a whole bunch of second-team All-Pros, and has led our team in tackles the last bunch of years. So I don't know. I like it, and I love the money. I mean, the $21 million, especially when none of it's guaranteed. $21 million last year, we gave it all to him. $21 million this year, we said, okay, enough's enough. Let's get you down to a realistic level. 17.25 over 2 years, I think, is perfect, and we save some money for the cap, and I think it's a great thing to do, and it's morale, right? You don't want to have players that are beloved on the team and just get rid of everybody. We already lost Bryce Huff. You don't want to start creating holes on the team when you don't need to, and you want to show the young guys that when you're a good player, when you're an important member of the squad, that we value that and we keep you around. We don't want people, as soon as they get the opportunity to hit free agency, they're out of here. You want them to want to stay. The Sauce Gardners, the Garrett Wilsons of the world, Michael Carter II. You want these guys to want to be here. And letting CJ Mosley go, just cutting him because it's a money thing, I don't think is a good move at all. Now, I want to say something. There are some folks in the chat saying free Hawk, all right? Now, I'm going to tell you when I will. I have every intention of letting Hawk back on the channel if he wants to come, but either way, not banning him. But I can't do it until Zach is gone. I can't do it because Hawk's Zach thing is insufferable to me. I cannot and refuse to deal with it anymore. Hawk's been a great guy for a lot of years, but boy, oh boy, this Zach thing, I just don't want it. And that's the reason he's still gone. I'll unban him in the future, whether we either cut Zach or trade Zach or whatever the hell it is. As long as Zach Wilson is not a New York Jet, then I can do it. If he chooses to come back after that, fine. But I will not listen to that shit anymore. I'm done with the Zach Wilson Homer stuff, especially when it's so incredibly unfounded. Sam Aiken checking in. Would you consider drafting a tough player that is injured in this draft? Zach Zinti, Michigan, or a small school wide receiver, Jalen Coker, with less than 6 career drops? Well, I mean, it depends on where, Sam. The Jets can't risk using premium assets on guys with injuries. We just can't do it. I mean, look, we get, Dwayne Brown, never injured. He's here 4 days and he needs shoulder surgery. Chuck Clark, never injured. Comes here, he's out for the year. Aaron Rodgers, never injured. 4 plays, he's out. Like, we have to factor that in. We're the Jets. We're not the Niners. We're not the Packers. We're not the Ravens. We don't have their luck. They can draft guys that are injured, and it's fine. We draft guys that are injured, and they're done. We draft healthy guys, and they never play. So we have to be real careful. Gunny, how do you feel about that one? You willing to take a flyer on these injured fellas or small school guys? Gunny, you're muted, buddy.
First and foremost, I agree with GreenBean on this one. I think it all boils down to what slot are we talking about and what does our board look like in terms of what we were able to bring in to help this team or impact this team now. But if I'm being honest, I'm with GreenBean. This is why when everybody says like, oh, you can't take a shot at Bakatari or Tyron Smith. Why? We can bring healthy people in here and they still get hurt anyway. Like, what do we, at least if those guys can stay healthy, we know we're getting elite level play. Like, you're taking a gamble. And I think right now with, again, the very, very small window we got with Aaron Rodgers, I'm not in the business now of taking any risk. I just want to get guys into that we know can play ball, that can benefit some way, somehow, whether it's on special teams, offense, defense, but not on the IR. I'd rather them not be on the IR if possible, right? So for me, I do like Jalen Cooker. I do like Jalen Cooker. I have watched some tape on him, and I've seen him kind of slide up a little bit on some draft boards. But again, that competition thing is a concern, right? Like, has he faced any kind of real competition? I just want to give as much help as we can with the minimal resources that we currently have to Aaron Rodgers, because ultimately, I don't think any of us here were excited about us getting Aaron Rodgers because we wanted to win a playoff game. We thought bringing him in could possibly put us in the conversation of being competitive for the Super Bowl. And the more we put around him as he's getting older, I don't think we have Aaron Rodgers at his prime of 28 to 35, right? We've got a guy who's a little bit older. I want to give him as much help as he can possibly get to go ahead and maximize his time here with the Jets. So, unfortunately, man, I'm going to have to pass on the gamble, although I am a fan of Jalen Cooker.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Connor? You want to take injured guys in the draft? What are you thinking?
So Cooker, no, just because Gunny mentioned it, hit it right on the head. The competition, I don't like that he's playing coming from a smaller school. But Zinter, yes, I've been on Zinter for a long time. Take him in the 3rd round. He's a really, really solid guard. Third. Other guys I like in the third are like Christian Haynes, Cooper Beebe, maybe a Trevor Keegan if you were to go on the
Right.
interior. Like those
Yep.
are the three guys. Those four, counting Zinter, I really like on the interior. Without that injury, Zinter's a 1-2 round guy. And there is still talk with the interior of like, obviously this guy's not injured, but if we trade back, draft JPJ, move Titman to guard, there's talk about that. I'd rather just keep Titman at center, go out, get one of these guards, like I mentioned, Zinter, Haynes, BB, Keegan, have them developed a little, bring in. Well, no, I want to keep AVT at guard. So your two guards ideal for us are probably AVT Tyler Sampson. You'll Morgan Moses on the right side, Fashanu Fuaga on the left side, and Titman at center, and that's probably our starting offensive line for 2024. And
There you go.
that's improved from next year, but we had the most offensive line combinations. The only thing is going to be if we could stay healthy, but I like our backups too. I think Max Mitchell, call me crazy, but Max Mitchell, he can be solid. He had an off year, but his first year a guy almost died. He had like blood clots or something, so he kind of had to bounce back from that. And then Carter Warren, I think, is a serviceable guy, swing tackle for next year. And I also think Wes Schweitzer is really, really solid. So those guys are the guys I like, and I think that would be a good line combination for the Jets in 2024.
I disagree with you on Wes Schweitzer. I don't like him very much at all, but he's under contract, so here he is. Everything else you said, I agree with. I think even, look, we got to use our draft pick, in my opinion, like Gunny mentioned earlier, on a tackle. I mean, even if we slide back a couple spots, whatever it is, we got to get a tackle in here. I hope that they do some free agent work at tackle in addition to the Morgan Moses signing, but boy, oh boy, this line is already improved. And I like Simpson. I like the signing. So, but man, we got to make sure we got to have depth. That's the thing. Connor mentioned it. We had more line combinations than I don't know of anybody in history. I think because
That had to be a record. That had to.
It had to be.
Yeah, that was
Xavier
Newman. Xavier Newman coming into play center in the Giants game was hilarious when he snapped the ball over Zach's head. I was, oof.
Yeah. He's like
literally
I'm
never
not
done
gonna
it before. When it happened, I just laughed and I was like, "This is us. This is our story.
This is us." Yeah, hello. Right. Let's have some fun. Let's just be the Jets. The King checking in, everybody. What's up, Lowski? Good to have you. He says Keenan Allen's still in the works.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's a long shot. Go on, Connor.
If we were to get a Chargers wide receiver, now former Chargers wide receiver, someone who's played with the Chargers, would be Williams. I really don't see Allen Trade coming along. But going to the last point, when we were talking about Xavier Newman snapping the ball over his head, I was talking about this with Gunny when Gunny was on my show. But the amount of games Jets fans have been saying that the Jets, oh my God, the Jets should have won this game. They should have won this game. If Rodgers, we would have won this game. The Jets deserve to lose that Giants game 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
100% deserve to lose that Giants game. The heroics that we had to put on. I mean, that never in a million years. I think Zach Wilson to Alan Lazard would really save the game for us, and then Greg the leg kick. Like the two guys that we want to get rid of.
That was not on anyone's bingo card. No one's bingo card had them winning that game for us.
You never predict Zach Wilson throwing a dot to Alan Lazard, and I mean, my favorite part was when I was actually listening to it on the radio with Bob Wischusen and Marty Lyons, and the way the Jets spiked it with 1 second. The most Jets thing that would have happened is the Jets didn't get that spike off and they lose the game. That's what I really thought was going to happen. I didn't think the Jets were going to get that spike off. And I wasn't watching the game, so I didn't know how close it was. I was listening to it on the radio. Oh my God. That would have been the most Jet-like thing.
Oh, yeah.
Run out of time and don't spike it in time. That would have been crazy. But send it to overtime, and special teams won us that game. Thomas Morstead had to punt, I think, like 25 times in that whole game, or something crazy. I don't know about 25, but something crazy like that. And that game was not pretty. And then there were games that we should have won, like the Raiders game, the Falcons game, Patriots week 3, like. So many games that we just they kicking ourselves, but should have lost that Giants game. I'm gonna go with that
Right.
one.
We like to talk about the ones that we should have won, but that is very, very true. That
The
Giants
ones that we
game,
shouldn't have won.
yeah, right. So there's that. So Connor, man, I appreciate you coming on, buddy. This was super cool. I'm gonna drop real quick, guys. His link is in the description.
Thank you.
But I'm putting it in the chat right now. I'm gonna go ahead and pin it up top. Go ahead, give him a follow, man.
I'm
Really
telling
good.
y'all right now, I don't even understand how Connor's page only, I think like 400 followers. Is that what it is right now? Subscribers?
I hit 430, 435. Yeah.
You guys are missing out on some quality content because I've gone up there and I'm like, man, he's had me rethink some of my own takes before I actually speak out loud to him. If you're not on this guy's channel, you're missing out on some good content. Not to mention, he gets like the A-list of freaking guests coming on his show on the regular.
Yeah. Damn right.
I appreciate
so yeah, man, let's get him some subs. Again, his link the link to his channel is now pinned at the top of the chat. I'll leave it up there for a few minutes. We're going to open up some phone lines, we'll call it, in a little while.
Ooh,
Get you guys on here. But the link is in the description for New York Flight Jets Talk with Connor right here. Connor, you're a great, great guest and a great Jets fan. We're happy to have you aboard. Like Drums is saying in the chat, I'm really sorry you haven't seen a damn winning season yet.
Yeah, in his lifetime, man. God.
What a bummer. What a bummer, man.
But look how loyal he is as a Jets fan.
I tell you,
that's how you know the Jets got us hypnotized, man. We're under some kind of a spell as a fan base. We got to be.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you guys for having me. Bean, I know you haven't come on my show yet. We've emailed. Hopefully we can schedule a time to get you on. Gunny, I'd love to have you back. Loved listening to you on your new weekly show with Gigaman Porto and Abby from Take Flight Talk. Love listening to that.
Appreciate you.
So have a great night, and interesting to hear what Tigo says. Tigo's a legend. Hand it off to him. Have a great night, guys.
Good night, Connor.
All right, Connor, have a great night, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it,
my man. There he goes, Connor. New York Flight Jets Talk. Do us all a solid, man. Let's go over there and subscribe to his channel. Again, I mean, look at the guests he's getting, and clearly he knows what he's talking about. And he's got less than 500 subs. That channel should be doing much, much better. Let's go. Even take a second right now. Just click the link over there, sub, come back, and that would be a great thing to do. So let's do the big fella checking in. Gunny, he says, sign Tyron, trade back, get Fatanu, and a second. Draft Penix, draft Tez Walker, and we are set. Game on, F. Zach Wilson. Come on, leave Zod alone.
Big fella.
Yeah. What do you think?
How are we going to get Penix and Fatanu in the same draft?
Well, because he's trading back. He thinks Penix is going to make it to the second, I think. That's what he's saying.
Not making it to the second round. Okay. Hot take. I think Penix is probably the best quarterback in this draft class. Unfortunately,
but he's got 12 injuries.
Injury history. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think in terms of actual talent, if it was like apples to apples, games for games, I think Penix is the best quarterback in this draft class. But unfortunately for him, he can't stay healthy. So that's going to hurt him. But I don't believe it hurts him bad enough to fall into the second round. I just don't. This guy's going in the first. But if somehow he did, I wouldn't be mad at it. Hey, you heal up, get your body right. You know what I'm saying? You sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years. That would be a dream for us as a fan base to actually have a quarterback plan with a successor behind our starting quarterback. We don't have to thrust him into the fire right away. That would be ideal. Right. Then we just got to pray he can stay healthy. But I if he falls out of the first round, I'll be shocked. I'll be extremely shocked.
I would too, and I agree. I actually think Penix is the best quarterback in the class. I mean, he's my favorite quarterback in the class. But again, those injuries, I mean, that's going to scare a lot of teams away. Once you start getting to the mid and late first, I think teams, those are the winning teams. They already have things set. They can take that risk and have him sit for a year or two, whatever. I don't see him making out of the first as well. Big fella, but hey, not the worst plan in the world. Although first, second, third round picks, man, we need to do everything we can to bolster the Aaron Rodgers experiment. And Penix does very, very little, if anything, to do that, especially now that we have Tyrod Taylor. It just doesn't make any sense to me to do that. I know there's lots of people saying, take a quarterback in the first, or like you're saying, insinuating, I think, in the second.
The second,
If we trade back and get a second, it's like the Tigo thing. He wants to trade back, get a second, and take a defensive tackle. I would choke myself till I blacked out. I'd be like, I'm so mad because we've had one issue on this team for years. That is our offense. And
it's
can
been
we
the
please
constant.
and even look at our free agency right now? I mean, most of the guys we signed are defense. We just can't help ourselves. We are a defensive team through and through, and we just
It's
can't.
part of our culture.
Yeah, it really is. It's just part of our culture, but we finally need to get some damn offense in this piece, and we'll see how that goes. I'm going to do this last super chat, and then we're going to open up the lines for you guys to check in with us this week. We do that every now and again, so I'll throw that in the chat right now, and then I'll get to this super chat. So there it is. I'll pin this. It's going to take out the Connor channel, but still the Connor channel is in the description as well as Gunny and Tigo and Dom and Jeremy and Talking Jets and all that jazz. So I'm going to pin this up there. Go ahead. Replace pinned message. Yep, there it is. I'll end the poll real quick, too. Is extending CJ Mosley a good move for the New York Jets? Let me see how many of you guys said it was good. Why is it taking so long here, Gunny? I think it was pretty resounding. Dano says it's pronounced T-Rod Taylor now. Is it T-Rod? I don't know about that. That's Dano, that's like on the Super Bowl, we all learned that Timu is actually Temu. That was weird, right?
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
I've always been saying Team U, and then somebody corrected me, and I was just like, what the heck are you talking about? And it was like, it got said on social media like it's Tim U. And I'm like, I'm going to call it Team U. If I'm giving them my money for my kids' freaking stuff, I call it whatever the crap I want.
Call it what I want, man. But, Temu, it just doesn't feel right. Timu, it makes so much sense.
Makes more sense. It sounds better. It rolls off the tongue better.
Yeah, so the if you want to check in with us, the phone line, if you will, is pinned in the top of the chat. You can check in with us and hang out. I'll bring Tigo on in a little while as well to get some of his opinions on the day's happenings. Truman Theodore Dumel checking back in. Thank you, buddy. He says, is there a free agent who's good no one is talking about? Well, I'll tell you what. He got signed today, but I was really hoping on the sneaky sneak that A.J. Dillon would be the guy, because I do believe that we're going to sign a vet, or at least an NFL player, running back, and draft a running back. I believe that we're going to do that. I don't think the third and fourth running backs on our squad are going to be here. Maybe practice squad, but I don't see us depending on them. I don't even remember their damn names. Tigo does, I'm sure. Tigo's good like that. He's got that kind of brain. He doesn't forget anything. But he doesn't know.
He's like,
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But anyway, AJ Dillon was a guy I was really, it made too much sense to me. You don't want a starting guy. You don't want somebody who's going to come in here and demand starting reps from Breece Hall, but you want a role player. He catches the ball well. He's got that straight line kind of get the hard yards thing going on. And I don't know. I really liked him, but he's signed. I forget where he signed, but hey, he's gone nonetheless. So I don't know, Gunny. You got your eyes on anybody? Maybe anybody that nobody's talking about? Maybe DJ Shark or something.
Hunter Renfrow, man. I like Hunter Renfrow a lot, and I know a lot of people will look at me and say he hasn't been the same since the injury, and I get that. But he's a guy that can run all the routes. He's a guy that can go ahead and catch the ball. He has a low drop rate. Yeah, you haven't seen his stats kind of line up with that, but is that really him or poor coaching? I'm personally keen on bringing him in as a potential wide receiver 4 on this roster. Another sure-handed guy you can go ahead and put in the slot who's got some outside experience. Him getting released was kind of a shocker. But I like Hunter Renfrow, and he's not being talked about much. And I mentioned it one time on Twitter, and then, of course, I got hit with the, are you serious? This guy hasn't been the same since the injury. I don't want him to be wide receiver 1, but let's be honest, are we really feeling comfortable between wide receiver 2, 3, and 4 right now on the Jets roster? Somebody's got to play those other roles, and for me, I like Hunter Renfrow. He's not being talked about. Maybe he can go ahead and be a a slide pick on the back end, you know, for a cheap contract. But I think he could be an impact player for us with Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball his way.
Yeah, look at this. So Kareem Carson, the perpetually hard person to please, decides to just throw it out there. GreenBean knows ball.
Knows ball. Okay,
that's right.
Okay, Kareem.
Yeah. I do know ball.
We knew that. We're glad that you now agree.
That's right. We're happy to have you aboard, man. I do know ball. Now I'm not, you know, I don't have the Michael Nania analytic thing, Joe Blewett, who's exceptional in what he did. I might not have those strengths, but boy, oh boy, do I know the game of football. Probably a little too much, actually, and it's fucking annoying because my team sucks. So I would just love to have some fun in this damn thing, everybody. Why can't we have some fun as Jets fans? It's tiring, I'll tell you. Anyway, but hunt for Hunter Renfrew, I wouldn't hate the idea. I mean, he's a little. I mean, what were his stats last year? Tigo, you mind looking up Hunter Renfrew? I didn't keep track. I know a couple years ago he was as dynamic as they get. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's a solid guy. Again, we're not looking for, you know, in years past, these free agent receivers and any position really, but the free agent receivers we're bringing in, we're looking to like be the guy, you know, Perryman. We want him to be the first round pedigree that he was. That's not what we're doing right now. We need compliments. We need guys that are legit compliments to Garrett Wilson. You know, that's why I like Tyler Boyd so much, dude. He's played behind AJ Green. He played behind Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. He knows how to play that role. He's exceptional in that role. And that's the kind of guy I want. Once you get that settled, you use your third round pick. If it's Leggett, if it's, you know, obviously I'm a big fan of Malik Washington or any of these guys that, you know, then you can come in. They're wide receiver 3. That's what you're looking for. And then you still got Gibson and Brownlee or whatever the hell happens with Corey Davis and Lazard and all that. But then it's now you got a good, you know, a good room, you know, as opposed to, you know, Garrett Wilson and a bunch of undrafted free agents. We had 3 undrafted free agent wide receivers on our 53 last year. That is unacceptable.
Yep.
I don't give a shit what their upside is. Unacceptable to have 3 undrafted free agents, 2 of who are rookies on your starting squad. It just doesn't make sense. And there, you know, when you look at it through an objective lens, there's no wonder why we struggle. You know what I mean? No wonder.
Yeah. So with Hunter Renfrew, right? And I bring him up because a lot of people will look at like his statistical drop off in terms of like his seasonal stats. When you break it down clearly, you look at the fact that he's gotten significantly less targets, but yet somehow, some way, he's still averaging, I think, like 10 yards per catch, like he was in his 1,000-yard season just 2 or 3 seasons ago. So I look at that and I put it into, you know, okay, well, he's not getting the love and attention he was getting before when Derek Carr was obviously his quarterback, and whereas Jimmy Garoppolo, being the bum that he is, hasn't taken advantage of his skill set. I kind of want to know, is it really him that's fallen off, or because he had an inferior product throwing him the ball? Did Corey Davis forget how to play football when he had Ryan Tannehill throwing him the ball, or is Zach Wilson really bad at playing quarterback? Like, and that's what I look at. But when he does get the target, somehow he's averaging the same 10 yards a catch that he was averaging when he was stacking, you know, significantly more stats. So that's why I look at Renfrow, and people look at the base end of the season stats as a whole. If you dig deeper, look at the per catch average. He's averaging, I think as a career, 9.6 yards, something like that a catch. In the last 2 years, even though he's had less yards overall, he's still averaging that. And if you look at it, his targets have dropped. So I don't know. That's why I want him to be a sneaky guy. You bring it again as your wide receiver 3 or 4. I'm not saying he's going to fix the wide receiver 2 situation. I'm just saying it's another sure-handed individual you bring into the fold that helps Aaron Rodgers and helps out the real playmakers in a Garrett Wilson, in a Breece Hall, because defense has got to go ahead and be honest. So that's why I brought him up.
Well, Tigo threw his stats in there. So he had quite the year last year, 25 receptions, 255 yards, and 0 touchdowns. Now, is that indicative of what he could bring here? I don't know. I mean, you know, I do like that player. But he might be on the in what we call the twilight. I don't know, maybe wide receiver.
What was his average last year? The average per cat, 25. So that's
bring
10,
Tigo. You mind pulling him up? I'll bring
yard,
it on. If just go ahead and pull up the Renfrew numbers.
Do me a favor. Bring up his career. Just bring up the career stats. I bet
Okay.
you. I bet you his average per catch is either online or the same as the seasons where we were all like, oh my god, this guy would be a great wide receiver too. The only difference is he's getting less targets. I'd be willing to bet that's the case.
All right, let me bring Tigo on.
Cool,
Here he
cool.
goes. And we'll bring
What's up,
this on
Tigo?
as well.
Hello.
Tigo's here, everybody.
I've also
Don't
shared
yell
the
at him.
screen so you can see it.
Yeah, I got it. All right, let me take that off. All right. Can you make that larger? Can you like
Bigger? Yeah.
zoom in on us on it for us? What we're looking at? Wow,
There's
look at
his career down there on the bottom.
Yeah,
Let me-
let's look at his. How many seasons does he have?
I think like 5 or 6.
Oh, that's it. 5. I thought he had
Yeah,
like
he's-
8.
Nope.
Nah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5.
So his career average is 10.6 yards
Per reception.
per reception. Had that 1,000-yard season in 2021. Yep, has kind of petered off a little bit there, Gunny.
yeah, but
One
what do you
thing I
mean?
will say to help-
10.2 last year would be his third best, even more so than his 1,000-yard season.
Yeah.
To help out not help out, but maybe convince the conversation a little bit more. I think a lot of people have to remember that he also had the bad McDaniel, not the other bad one because he's in Miami,
Exactly.
but I like him as a human. The bad McDaniel in as his head coach before Pierce came over.
For the
And
last
then
2
once
years.
Pierce got there, and then for the first half of the season, he had Jimmy Blue Chew Garoppolo as his quarterback. And then for the back half of the season, he had Aiden Porn Mustache O'Connell. It's not a great quarterback room. And if you have a bad quarterback, the game plan is throw it to Devontae. That's the whole game plan. So I will say that
37 targets, a career low. 37 targets he got last year, but somehow still averaged the 10.2 yards per reception, which is just slightly off of what his career average is. And that's what I was looking at in terms of, again, I know who the coach was, the offensive-minded coach was, bum, and his quarterback, also bum. So again, is the injury really why he's fallen off, or is this a guy who's been the victim of a trash offensive-minded head coach and quarterback? So, and that's why he'd be the guy that I'd be like, hey, sneak him in there as a wide receiver 3. Maybe we get him into that 600 to 700 yards a season average again with a real quarterback at the helm.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I don't know, man. It would be fine, I guess. But Tyler Boyd's better.
yeah.
Well, Tyler Boyd is wide receiver 2. Again,
Wide receiver 2. Okay. All right. We're gonna go ahead and bring our first guest on for the night. Let's say hello to Bobby. What's up, Bobby?
Hey, what's up, Bobby?
Greenbean. Hi, Gunny, and
How you
hi,
doing?
Tigo. You guys are awesome. Hey,
Appreciate you,
Greenbean,
appreciate
my
you.
brother loves you very much. He thinks you're awesome.
All right.
And
That's
I
cool.
did like that kid you had on today. That
Connor?
kid is smart.
Yeah.
He's only like 14, isn't he? He's smarter
Nah,
than
he's younger than that. I think he's 12. Maybe he's going to be 13
well,
this year. He's young.
pretty smarter than I am. Good. I heard
Kid
him.
knows his stuff.
I know at 12. At 12, I didn't know a lot about football.
I didn't know
Because
shit,
of
Bobby.
Connor-
Right. I'm right with you, man. I need
Yeah,
that.
same
Connor's
here.
got it way ahead of me, friend.
I know,
Because
right?
of Connor,
Well,
me and my
now you
almost
got-
2-year-old are watching tapes on Thursdays and Fridays every night.
Yeah, because you got the internet now. We never had the internet.
No.
We had to look it up in like newspapers.
That's what
So-
it is.
Are you happy that the Jets signed that guy from the Giants, Tyrone Taylor?
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, let me
quarterback
ask you,
Taylor.
Bobby. How do you
Yeah.
feel about the Tyrod Taylor signing? Is that the backup quarterback that you think is going
Yeah,
to be
from
the
the
best?
Giants. Yes.
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I know and then guess who we signed? Oh, Drew Lock. Oh, let me get excited on that. No, not. Don't like that. And then, you know what thing I was very mad at? The first thing the Giants did. Take a guess what they did.
What's that?
They got rid of Barkley, went to the Eagles, and watch every game this year. He's going to run 200 yards over our defense.
Well,
I'm not kidding. Every time the Giants play the Eagles, they have the problem with running backs. They run like 150 yards over all of our teams. And I'm not too happy about that.
No, well, I'll
Still.
tell you what, you're not alone. I mean, most of my family, Bobby, is Giant
Yeah.
fans, right?
Oh yeah,
So,
you
I mean,
told me that one time before.
yeah, there's only a few. We're growing. My Aunt Gina, she's been
Yeah.
working on the young kids for, I mean, decades. So we have like,
Yeah.
I don't know, 8 or 9 of us now. But
Yeah.
most of the Giant fans in my family, the Saquon Barkley thing hurts. Barley.
Oh,
I do that every
it
time.
hurts me.
Saquon Barkley.
No, if he went to a different team, not in our division, how stupid are they? They
Right.
are dumb. Oh, I would want to smack the Giants right in the face. I'll tell you.
Yeah,
Hey,
well, it's going to
GreenBean,
be tough. So
you're
let me
from
ask
up.
you this. So
Yeah,
you're a Giant fan. Let me
I
ask you.
cheer for the Jets too.
Right. But are you okay with the Danny Dimes thing? I mean, what do you think? The Giants going to take a quarterback in the first round? Or what do you see happening?
Well, I think they want to move up. I saw things they want to move up. But I really wanted to get either Justin Fields or, well, we lost. Pittsburgh picked them up. Russell Wilson. I wanted those two. Oh,
Yeah,
we screwed
Pittsburgh.
up on that.
I'll tell you what, Bobby, that Russell Wilson thing is a
Yeah.
gem of gems. You get him for $1 million
That's
because he's
I
already
know.
making $35 million from the idiot Broncos.
$38.6 million from the Broncos.
Yeah, well, look who was in the coach on the Broncos. Dummy. Yeah,
Hey.
man. But
Yeah,
I do cheer for your team. I do cheer for the Jets. 'Cause
what do
my
you think
brother's
about
a
our
big
chances
Jets.
this year? Bobby, before I let you go, what do you think
Yeah.
about the Jets' chances? Give me an objective opinion. What do you see the Jets doing this year?
Well, I think when Aaron Rodgers comes back, you got to get, like you said, I want that guy Tyler Boyd on your team. He's a great receiver, and good price. He should be getting a good price for that, but you should get him. And then the running backs are good. You got Brees Hall, right?
Yep.
And who else do you have? You have a great defense,
Garrett
so you
Wilson.
don't have to worry about that. And who's
Yeah,
the
well-
backup Brees Hall again?
Izzy. We got Israel Abanikanda. He's a little bit of a question mark, to say
Yeah,
the
but
least.
I think you should pick a running back. But I think you gotta have a good year. I say I'm gonna predict 11-6.
11, I'll take it.
Wow, I'll take that all day.
If
I'll
Aaron
take it.
Rodgers is in there, I want you to get rid of Zach Wilson. I thought you already got rid of that.
We
bum.
want to get rid of him too.
He's
Hey,
on it.
do you
He's on
ever
his way.
see do you ever see King Lowski when he gets on the air?
Oh, hell yeah. He's the best. He's the king.
You gotta get rid of that child, boy. You gotta get rid of that child. Get him off the field. These things. Oh, I had to go after him on Jake Asman's show the other day. I had to follow him up. How do you do that?
That's a tough spot. That's
Right,
a tough
and,
spot to be in.
Tigo, you're very quiet over there.
Yeah,
I
man.
remember you. You're a good guy.
Thanks.
You're from
I'm
New
still
York
a little
too,
sick,
right?
so I'm not at 100%.
Oh, I hope you feel better. You're from New York, right?
Well, yeah, I was raised there. I live in Florida now.
Where are you in New York?
Oh, I'm not in New York right now. I'm in
No,
Florida right now.
before when you lived in New
Oh,
York.
the city. I lived on 125th and Broadway.
I was born in the Bronx, moved to Queens. Gunny, where you from?
I'm from Jersey, originally from Camden, New Jersey, before I moved here to Houston, Texas.
That's kind of near Giants MetLife Stadium.
It is. It's very
And
close.
GreenBean, you're from upstate New York, right?
No, I'm from Jersey. I was born in Newark.
Newark. All right, that's
yeah.
close by there.
Yeah, that's
So you
right in
got
that
other
area.
people coming on.
Nobody there, but I'll let you go. We're gonna move on to the next subject. But Bobby, you're a great man. I enjoy having you on. You're always a good call, buddy, and I
Well,
appreciate
you're
you
great.
checking in.
You guys are awesome too. I got to tell you, A+ on there. Oh, one note, I'm happy that Corey Davis is coming back to your team. I don't know
we'll
why you
see.
retired. I think he will.
To be determined.
We'll
I
see.
thought he was on your team. Dummy.
We
But you
cut
guys
it. We released them today, so it pisses me off, Bobby. But anyway,
Well,
hey
the
man,
Jets
thank
are
you.
not that. Okay, do you remember when your Jets could have had Dan Marino instead of Ken O'Brien?
Yes,
Why
I
are we-
do.
And then
Why are
you
we
could
bringing
have
up-
had Jerry Rice instead
You
of
don't-
Al2.
You don't got it. Why? Why, Bobby? This was going so
I
good.
know,
Like, why
but
do you?
I'm just. I'm just saying, in the drafts you don't do very good. I'm just saying.
Ah.
Well, the Giants don't do good either. Look who we got in the first round, Daniel Jones. Bad Dog and Chris the Entertainer were going crazy when they picked up. You picked him up, Daniel Jones. There we go.
We've been making mistakes in the draft
Ever
as long
since.
as the draft has been going on.
Right, I
So-
know, but I wish you could have got Dan Marino and Jerry Rice. That would have been. I didn't even know you guys had the chance to get them both.
Oh yeah, we chose Al Toon and we chose Kenny O. I mean, I love both
Michael-
of those players, but shit.
Matt O'Brien, come on! He
I
could have
did.
finding his way out of the plastic garbage bag that year.
Hey,
Come on.
he had 2 good seasons. I don't want to hear it.
Nah, nah.
And for Jets fans, that counts.
That's
Eli
right.
Manning was better than him.
Nope. Eli
Okay,
Manning
guys,
was just
you
got
are
lucky.
great guys. You are great guys. Nice.
Bobby,
Thank you
have
to
a
have me
great
on.
night, my friend. Have a
Have a
great
good night,
night.
Bobby.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
for having
calling. There
me
he
on.
goes, everybody. Bobby. The phone lines are open if you want to check in. It's pinned to the top of the chat there, so you guys can check in if you'd like. I'll tell you, man, it is really tough. Again, like we talked about, I'm not unhappy with our free agency so far. I'm really not. At the same time, I just would really love to see a little bit more focus on the offense. Now, Tigo, let me ask you this. As far as a running back, I do believe that the Jets are going to bring in a running back from, that's an NFL vet. A.J. Dillon's gone. That was kind of my guy. Who do you see? I mean, do you agree with me? Do you think we're just going to rely on the draft and these kids that we have sitting behind Brees and Izzy now? What do you see? And if there's a guy, a vet, who do you think we're going to target?
I am not a fan of this running back class, like at all. There's not a single name that you could see like, oh yeah, like go get that guy and we can rely on him to be RB2 or RB3, right? Now, if you want to take a flyer on a guy and be like, okay, they're going to be like running back 4, sit on a practice squad all year, or they can eat up a roster spot and they're going to be running back 4 kind of a thing, that's fine. But I'm cool with running Izzy as RB3 all year. I love Izzy. I think he needs to develop his game because he's a one-trick pony. But for me, there are 2 running backs in this free agency class that I think that if you're the New York Jets, you should bring them in immediately. And so the one that I would go for is, I think, Donta Foreman, formerly of the Chicago Bears. I think he'd be
Interesting.
really
Yeah.
inexpensive. And then I would take a flyer on J.K. Dobbins.
You took it right out of my mouth, bro.
I would take a flyer on J.K.
Hate it.
Dobbins. And
25 years
again,
old.
It's not only go get J.K. Dobbins. That's the thing. You got to be clear here. It's go and get a guy like a Donta Foreman, who is clearly going to be RB2, and then also give J.K. a 1-year, $2 million deal and say, there you go. Because if he's healthy, which is probably not going to be, that's great. And I'm all about stealing as many Baltimore Ravens players as possible. We already got 2. Keep the train going. Bring in Zietler. Go get J.K. Dobbins. Go get Clowney. Let's bring all of the Ravens in. They obviously were doing something right last year. But I would take a flyer on a guy like J.K. Dobbins just because, dude, what if? He's not going to be healthy. We know that. But what if? What if he's healthy? That's
Especially towards the back end of the season when you're talking about, it's getting colder. You know what I'm saying? Ground's getting a little slippier. You want to go ahead and start feeding the running backs a little more. A rested Brees can do a lot of damage in the playoffs. So I like J.K. Dobbins too. Again, it's a high ceiling move, right? Like, again, my bad, Tigo. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I agreed so much with what you were saying, bro. I'm like,
take it over, man.
It's one of those things where, like, it's not going to cost you much because, again, of the injury aspect, right? But this is a guy.
Dave makes a great point. Real quick, sorry to interrupt you for interrupting me. He rehabbed with Rodgers. They're buddies.
Right.
And he's literally a year removed from a 5.8 yards per carry average. That's disgusting. That is really disgusting. We already got half of the offensive line here that he's accustomed to playing behind. A lot of it just makes sense.
Accustomed to playing behind? You mean accustomed to watching play? The guy, dude, he's had numerous season-ending injuries. I think he played one game last year. I mean, look, I hear you when you say the word flyer. I get it, but Dobbins, to me, like Hennessy's saying, he wouldn't make it out of one game for the Jets. He'd take one hit, and we'd be watching him limp off to the sideline, and that would be it. I just don't see it. I mean, talent,
For $1
sure,
million?
But it goes back to the argument, right, GreenBean? We're Jets fans. We bring in healthy players, they get hurt. We bring in hurt players, it doesn't matter. They get hurt. If you can bring in somebody with a high enough ceiling and pray to the football gods that this is the guy you don't take from us this year, because you're going to take somebody from us, if not multiple. Like, Dobbins is a guy that can go ahead and do some damage to be the Robin to Brees Hall's Batman.
I don't even think he qualifies for the vet minimum, which would be 1.2.
Yeah,
so you're talking about an under $1 million contract that wouldn't even count towards your 53. It's a free player. Remember, only the top 51 contracts count towards your cap.
That's
So I would do it. It's not my money. I don't give a crap.
Well, money, I don't care either. As you know, the cap obviously is one thing, but I don't
Wouldn't
give a
count.
shit. Woody
Dude,
can
you
spend
think
$800 trillion. I wouldn't care. But I don't know, man. I just, it's like spinning your wheels. It's like Saffold last year. It's like, yeah, great. Gave the guy $400,000 to sit on our fucking practice squad and eat chicken wings. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that was. He was clearly underweight. He clearly wasn't going to help us. It just did nothing. I see Dobbins in a similar way. I'd love to stop messing around and just
Again,
get
that's why I think Foreman's the guy. I love Donta Foreman.
Donta Foreman, I like. Donta Foreman had himself some serious games last year too, and I know this because he happened to be my fantasy running back. So
I had him too last year. That's why I called his name out.
He did well.
He came out clutch in certain games. You could put him in where you had a running back, and you'd just be like, who's the guy? I had Nick Chubb. And so when his knee exploded, I died a little. Because I was
that was brutal too, man. Brutal.
That was rough. That was so rough.
So here's who we got. We got Cordarrelle Patterson is still out there. He's 75 years old. Alexander Madison still out there. Ezekiel Elliott. Edwards-Helaire is out there. He's only 24.
24, right? He's young.
Why not? Let me see what his market value is per spot track. 1.6 million. See, now that's the thing. If you're going to talk about this less than 2 million thing, you're going to tell me you wouldn't have Clyde Edwards-Helaire than J.K. Dobbins at this point?
No, I'd rather give double the money to Foreman. I'd rather give Foreman like $4 million.
Yeah. Hello. Right. Hello.
Again, I'm talking about RB4, like a guy who should never see the field, take a flyer on kind of a thing. Like it's the same thing. The way I look at it is you can either draft a guy or get an undrafted guy, or you can give JK the league minimum. And when I look at upside, I really don't like this running back class, like at all. There's not really a name that stands out to me as a guy's like, go get that guy, even in the 7th round or an undrafted. Like there's no one that's really impressing me. So if you're trying to have a 4th running back on the roster, you could do much worse than JK.
Well, let's say I'm going to put this in the poll. I want to switch up a little bit. So you get the name Sutton keeps getting brought up. Now the word out of there is that Sutton's going to be a Bronco.
Yeah.
But the trade, you still have the T. Higgins, you have the Justin Jeffersons out there, you have the Brandon Ayuk's, and there's probably some other guys available for trade. What do you think the realistic potential is for the Jets to trade for their wide receiver 2, 3, even, as opposed to signing one of these guys in free agency or just depending on the draft? Gunny, I'll start with you. What do you think the likelihood is of the Jets making a trade for a wide receiver?
Now, I'll be the first to say that I love T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins would be the premier option in terms of trading for an individual if we had to go that route. I think Brandon Ayuk, I think they're realizing that they need a lot more help around a guy like freaking Brock Purdy. So I don't think he's actually going anywhere. I think when they saw that the value of the contract it's just that it's too valuable to go ahead and kind of let go when they're in a situation right now where their quarterback's money is almost non-existent and they just made it to a Super Bowl. Why not run it back? I think they're going to look at that in the greater scheme of things and realize they need all the help they can get around a guy like a Brock Purdy. So for me, T. Higgins is the dream. I think T. Higgins right now would be the ideal situation because of his youth. But then you align that with how much money we got to wind up paying a freaking Garrett Wilson and a freaking Sauce Gardner in the next few years, and I think that's where it becomes an issue. So the most realistic one for me, if I had to put money on it right now, I think it is going to be Tyler Boyd. I think Tyler Boyd right now is in his late 20s, 29 years old. A guy we know who's going to be consistent, but that age aspect, knowing that wide receivers start to hit that cliff mark at 30. He's got 2 years left on his current contract. Kind of lines up, in my opinion, pretty well with the Aaron Rodgers experiment, right? Able to go ahead and have him there as wide receiver 2 for Aaron Rodgers. We're going to pay Garrett Wilson, hopefully Sauce Gardner in 3 years from now. So it just makes sense and lines up with the projection of this roster and this team. So I think if I had to bet money on it, Tyler Boyd will be the guy. But if I could have a dream scenario for me, it'd be T. Higgins.
T. Higgins. What do you think? What's it going to cost though, Gunny?
For Tyler Boyd?
No, T. Higgins.
Oh, T. Higgins is going to cost too much. I think it's going to cost us a second. It's going to cost a second. I don't think it'll be a first. I don't think any, because the wide receiver class is so deep, and we were all just talking about how great it is. I think anybody who's willing to give up a first round pick is going to look at the draft and be like, wait, I can get me a guy for cheaper that has a high ceiling in the draft. I think it's going to cost a second. I think a second is more realistic in terms of this year's draft, right? If it has to be this year's draft. Only because of the quality, the breadth of talent at offensive line and wide receiver in this draft. But yeah, I think it'll cost a second, which we don't currently have. Maybe we can go ahead and give them next year's second. I'd entertain it, but I think whoever winds up making the move for T. Higgins can give up that second rounder this year for him. And of course, you're going to have to pay him. So that's another thing too. If I'm going to give you a second, I want to pay the guy because he's on his last year of his contract. So that has to come into play. So I think a second gets it done for T. Higgins, which I think is a lot, if I'm being honest, which is why I'm a big fan of the Tyler Boyd route if a trade must be done. Or we can bypass all that and just get Mike Williams in the building, and we're happier, and we get to keep assets.
Mike Williams, how many injuries has he had?
A ton. But again, you're a Jets fan, GreenBean. It doesn't matter. Man. Healthy or not, people are going to get hurt on your team.
It makes it worse. It does. Look, Radcliffe's got a great point, though. And, Jay, I just busted your balls on Twitter a few seconds ago. So if you didn't see that, I think I might have told you to grow a sack. So don't take it personally. I'm just busting chops. He says, at least we've done enough so far that we can talk about backup running back, wide receiver, too. I agree. I could not agree more. We still got this tackle thing, though. I really, look, like I said 100 times, I do see the Jets eyeballing AVT at tackle, left tackle. I said it. I was like, look, I think they're talking tackle. I know we're all thinking right tackle, but don't be surprised if they're penciling him in at left. I still just really would love to see left tackle taken care of. Get, Bakhtiari, Tyron Smith in here and still use your first round pick on a tackle and put AVT at guard, for God's sakes. That's my best case scenario. But it's a great point, man. At least we're talking about this in this way. Tigo, who do you see as do you think it's likely the Jets trade for a wide receiver? And if so, who do you see?
So I think that, I saw a report today that obviously we know that the Jets were in on Mike Williams when he was rumored to have left LA a couple years ago, and they were in on that conversation. And then he went back to LA. The other one is obviously Tyler Boyd. Now, the report I saw about Tyler Boyd is that the Jets players are recruiting Tyler Boyd, and that the Jets front office isn't necessarily pursuing him as hard as the players are. Now, I do think that a trade is possible, but when I think of a trade for a wide receiver, I think people are looking at the big names that we know are kind of available. I don't think T. Higgins goes anywhere. He's gonna sign an extension. I don't think Ayuk is gonna go anywhere. They're going to basically tell Ayuk to play on the year. If he's not, they'll wait him out. They got 2 franchise tags. Like if he doesn't want to play this year, he'll play next year, and then they're gonna franchise tag him again. They're in their window to go and win a Super Bowl, the San Francisco 49ers. And Ayuk is a big part of that. I don't know if they give him an extension, but at least he is a part of that, in my opinion. But two names that I will throw out there as possible trade targets are two teams in interesting spots when it comes to the where their franchises are. If you're looking at a team that has a valuable asset that could garner a relatively high pick, the Washington Commanders and Scary Terry McLaurin. That is a look. There is every logic in the world. You keep him for your young quarterback. Drake May, Scary Terry is going to be something that would be absolutely insane. But if you're Dan Campbell and you want to stock up as many assets, because that team is devoid of talent, they need an entire new offensive line. They need an entirely new offensive line. They essentially need an entirely new defense. And if you're the new Commanders owners, you're going to give Dan Quinn time. He's got the pedigree. You're going to give him 5-6 years to rebuild that team. So I would make that call. Hey, is Scary Terry available? What does that look like? The other one that I would have a conversation about is I would call Seattle about Tyler Lockett. Okay. I know he's old. Right. I think he's going to be 33 when the season starts, but he's only got 2 years left on his deal. I don't know if they just re-signed him or whatever it is like that. I think that might be what happened. But besides the point is, if you're telling me that you can get a slot specialist in Tyler Lockett who's done nothing but be consistent on the field and just productive for as long as he's been there, I would at least entertain that conversation, especially because last year, Seattle in the first round drafted a slot specialist in JSN. And so I would at least have that conversation with Seattle about Lockett. I still think he's got the legs to go out there. Last year at 900 receiving yards.
Yeah, hello.
5 touchdowns. Like that would be another move. Like, again, these are names that no one's talking about, but also no one was talking about Morgan Moses, and who thought that was a thing.
Yeah. So, and it's an interesting thing. And look, I'll end the poll to end this conversation. The poll, I asked if, how likely do you think it is the Jets trade for a wide receiver? 53% said unlikely. 100% said, 34% think it's going to happen. And 12 said ain't happening. Lockett's an interesting one. And like you just said, Tigo, I think that's really an important point. Nobody saw Morgan Moses coming. Now, real quick, Kareem, you just told me I know ball. I love the idea of Tyler Boyd. And now you're saying, that ain't good. I don't know where to place you, man. Tyler Boyd is the guy, everybody. If he doesn't come, but he really is a great option. Hennessy checking in. Would JD trade down? He's never done it in the first. Well, he's traded up in the first, and he's traded down in the second. And traded up in the second for that matter. So I don't think, the fact that he hasn't done it precludes us from doing it. I just think he hasn't done it, Yeah. But this year, he has shown he's not afraid to do it. Again, traded down in the second. So
he tried last year.
Well, he did, right. He did try last year. Everybody was just like, nope. No, we'll give you a 6th. That's what was going on. Last year was a weird year, too. A lot of the trades were cheap, much cheaper than we usually see in the first round. But, yeah, I don't think that the fact that we haven't seen him do it means that he won't do it. Again, I just think, when he's at number 2. He took his quarterback. When he was at number 11, he needed a tackle. He took Becton. When he wanted AVT, he jumped up. We saw him jump back up in 2022 to get Jermaine Johnson, but he was staying right where he was to get Sauce and Garrett Wilson. So I don't think that it means anything. I just think we haven't seen it yet. I don't think Joe Douglas would bat an eyelash if the opportunity presented itself. Now, let me ask you guys this, and I've been seeing this on Twitter. What is your concern? There is rumblings that the reason that the Ravens let Morgan Moses go is because he needs shoulder surgery. Tigo, what do you think of that? Have you heard anything? Is it a concern? We kind of picked up their injured garbage. What do you think about that one?
I would be surprised that that's it. I think they let him go because they have a young guy that they're excited about. That's the difference. They have the guy there, and so if they can get anything for a guy that they don't need to play anymore, like they need to get younger and faster on the offensive line. They need to get younger and fast, not like fast as in speed. I mean, like the age of the offensive line was they had a bunch of really old guys. Kevin Zeitler at 32, Morgan Moses at 33. Like they're trying to align this new offensive line with the timeline of Lamar Jackson and all of that stuff. And so they have some guys that they like in the building that they're going to move around and that they're going to play. So I think it's more of they have a really deep offensive line, and I haven't heard anything about a Morgan Moses injury, so that'd be a surprise to me.
Yeah, what do you think, Gunny? Have you heard anything about the Morgan Moses shoulder issue?
Yeah, I too haven't heard much about that as well, but I'm with Tigo on this one. I just feel like that's a bit of a reach. They do have some young guys that they've invested draft picks and capital in. They saw an opportunity to move up in the 4th round by making this trade and still acquire a 6th round pick. And I would assume that our Joe Douglas is not going to get got by not putting a physical, disclaimer with this particular pick. So, if he doesn't pass the physical and then everything doesn't come out good, then we know, right? But if it comes out that there's an injury, I think we would have known by now, because I think he checked in today, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't heard anything about it per se, but I also find that a little bit to be far-fetched, just because Jody doesn't get got when it comes to trades. He does the getting, right? And when you look at the Ravens investments in terms of young offensive linemen, it makes sense that they want to go ahead and get younger faster. They just brought in Derrick Henry. They got Lamar Jackson. That running attack, that rushing game is going to be disgusting next year, especially when it comes to the option. They want guys who can go ahead and get to the second level a little bit quicker potentially. So I think that's what it really boils down to. But if there was a concern, I think that's something JD would have picked up on when it comes to the pre-trade physical, which would, of course, protect us if that was the case. I will say this. I trust JD a lot when it comes to trades. I feel like he's never been got when it comes to that particular aspect of his GM skill set. And I'm a ride with him still with this draft.
That's
with
something.
this trade.
Wouldn't the Ravens have to disclose that?
They would have to.
Maybe they
Yeah.
did. Maybe they did. Joe Douglas just
would have
felt
come
that.
out, though. That would have come out.
so
I
too.
think the bigger thing is that Ronnie Staley's contract jumps up $11 million this year and then
Is it
keeps
11
going
mil?
up. No, he goes from $12 million, which was his cap hit last year, to
Right.
$23.5 million.
Oh,
this
it goes
year.
up.
It goes up an
Oh,
additional
wow.
$11.5 million. And so I think that has a bigger thing. And when he missed time last year, they got that dude. I can see his face. He's got a beard. He's a big boy. Patrick something is their tackle who played in for Stanley last year for the games that he missed, and he did really well. And I think so. It's a combination of they like this Patrick. Dude, I can't think. It's a weird last name. I can't think of it. Patrick Macari. There it is. They really like him. And so I think they're just going to slot him in at right tackle. We also have to remember that they have Falele. They drafted him in the 2nd round last year.
Lele. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
look
think
at this.
Fourth round.
Well, this came out February 2nd, everybody. Head coach John Harbaugh told reporters Friday that Moses is currently deciding if he should have shoulder surgery this offseason. Despite dealing with the shoulder issue for over 4 months, Moses was still able to suit up for 16 games. So anyway, it's real. It's real.
Maybe.
Now, let me say this. Red John, you're talking about Lockett being trash. I'm going to tell you, he's had over 70 receptions each of the last 5 years. I wouldn't call that trash.
Lockett is not trash. What?
Dude, it's people love to, like, I don't know where this narrative has come from. He's had 1,000 yards receiving each of the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, except for last year. Last year is the only year in the last 6 years where he hasn't had 1,000 receiving yards. And a big part of that is because they drafted his replacement in JSN and they tried to make him work. That's it.
Yeah.
What?
All right.
Like they lowered his slot percentage usage because he plays a lot of the slot, like over 50%. They dropped him to 33% in the slot this year to try and force feed JSN in the slot to make their first round pick seem like a good idea. I was never a JSN guy. And it's coming out now.
I didn't love him. People were like in love with him.
And it's coming out now a little bit, but they were trying to be like, hey, look, we made a good choice in taking JSN, even though we have statistically one of the best slot receivers on the planet. So let's take another slot guy. That makes sense. Didn't they pass on Jordan Addison? Like, come on, man.
All right. So Red John wants to know how many of these free agent wide receivers you think are legitimately better than Corey Davis? Maybe one or two? Well, I mean, look. How many of these wide receivers
the ones that are left?
Off? Yeah. I mean, look, and we'll look at the list real quick. I'll drop it up here for Red John. Here's the crop that's left. So Mike Williams is better. I mean, the injuries, so there's that. But Corey Davis took a year off too. We don't know where his head's at. We don't know what's really going on. And look, the last 2 years with the Jets, he had like 30-something receptions. So, it's not like the guy's lighting up, the world or anything. Robinson is better. He's had a couple years where he hasn't done much, so he could be at the end. OBJ is better. Again, where he is at this point in his career, I think Tyler Boyd's definitely better as well. Michael Thomas is better. I mean, do you guys agree? Do you?
I'll speak up when I disagree.
Yeah, when
I don't agree with Allen Robinson just because I watched a lot of him last year with the Steelers. But
he's kind of petering out, man.
I'd put them at even. I put Allen and Corey Davis at even. I wouldn't say he's better per se.
Yeah, I mean Robinson. It's just weird. Like he's just kind of he's just petering out. He's for whatever reason. I mean, he was as good as you get, for a few years there. And, I don't know. He just looks like age might be getting him. Same thing. OBJ is still OBJ, but he's clearly not the guy, I don't know. I don't know. I don't love OBJ, but he's better than Corey Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd, definitely better than Corey Davis.
What about Braxton Berrios? You think Braxton Berrios is better than Corey Davis?
I think the list that I'm looking at, it stops after Michael Thomas. I think Corey Davis is better.
Marquise
I would
Brown.
take Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
Because know what here's the thing. We know what Hollywood Brown is. We don't know what CD is after a year and a half off, essentially. Remember, he sat out the back half of last year?
Yeah.
Not sat out. He was hurt and he didn't practice, kind of a thing.
Yeah, so I get what you're saying, Red John. I mean, look, I think Corey Davis, sadly, being coupled with Zach Wilson, I think that we didn't get to see everything that he could bring. That's my honest feelings. That said, the guy's frustrating as hell, man. I mean, there's a funny thing. I wouldn't even have known I said it, but I was sitting with Richie and Jack, game one. Gunny, the year you were there when we were with Jet Lounge, and we all had in the Jet hangar, and we were all hanging out. I was sitting with Jack and Richie, and we throw it past to Corey Davis, and it fucking bounces off his chest again. And I wouldn't even remember I said it, but Jack kept reminding me. I said, and that's why he's a piece of shit. I mean, he's just the most frustrating guy in the world, dude.
That's hilarious.
It's like I want so badly for the guys that we have, especially when it's wide receiver 1 or 2 or whatever, to be great. And it's just you throw him a pass, he's wide open, it's third down, he's right in his hands, and he flies into the air. And he's just such a frustrating guy, man.
Did he drop as many balls with Sam?
No. Corey Davis came with Zach.
It was Zach.
So,
he never played with Sam.
He never played with him?
No, he never did. Remember, and it started.
It started.
The first
he was
game in
excited to play with Sam.
Corey Davis caught 2 touchdowns, if I remember correctly, in the first game. So Zach to Corey looked great. We ended up losing the game, of course, too little, too late. But it looked like we might have something. And look, the guy's clearly talented. He makes, really difficult catches sometimes. But man, is he frustrating. And again, my whole beef, Red John, is not that he's, either coming back or not good or whatever. he left us at the altar last year. Okay. Yep. He screwed us. Now, how long the Jets knew he was going to retire remains a mystery, but he still screwed us from a fan perspective. He wants to come back a year later and you release him and let him go out there and do it. Fuck that.
That's stupid. That was so dumb.
Like the Jets, dude, I just don't understand this allocation of resources. Like we don't maximize what we have. Bryce Huff, Corey, whoever, man. And this is historic. We did it with Chad. We did it with Brett Favre. Like we just constantly just go, oh, but he's a nice guy. Like, well, who are we? Why are we the nice guys? We suck. Stop it. Squeeze the lemon, for God's sakes. So I don't know. It's frustrating. I will say Godwin is better. Van Jefferson, I think, is better than Corey Davis. But, we can split hairs there. But I think there's quite a few better options than Corey Davis. That said, I would not mind him coming back as the wide receiver 3-4. Right, I wouldn't mind that, having him on the roster. Put him in, during the running games and stuff. But anyway, we are at the end of our show. 10:03. I didn't even realize it. Oh, let's say all right, you bastard. We'll say hello to this guy. Let him close the show with us. But we're still gonna end it. So let's just say hello to the
Yo, what's up, Nick?
What's up, my friends?
Beard appreciated Nick Shine. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Roland Brush, always within reach, brother. How are you?
Right,
How's everyone doing?
You know how we do
it. You got to keep it in reach. We're the pretty boys of YouTube, GreenBean, you and I.
These other guys
it takes a man with cojones to grow a big beard.
That's right. Nobody gets it. We're the pretty boys. We're the pretty boys. Damn it!
I gotta keep it crisp.
Not Gunny. Gunny gets all the love. We're the pretty boys.
If Tigo's room was any darker, I think I was in a strip club. That's how he's got to be. That's the lady he's got to be.
Tigo said, "Hold my beer." Watch this.
Look at this guy too.
Yeah, hey, we got the band back
what's
together.
up, Jeremy?
Yeah, I love how you guys wait till 10:03 to jump on. Like I got nothing to do. Tigo's got kids running. The Gunny's got 12 kids. I got to fucking wake up at 3 a.m. Like, thanks, guys.
I just came in to say goodnight.
You say him to say, how's your leg, buddy? You okay?
I'm icing down right now. I think it's getting better. The antibiotics, it just takes time. A couple more days, I think I'll be good.
Jeremy's been rubbing mozzarella all over his leg for 3 days. It's not going to work.
Who knew that mozzarella cheese can mess up your leg like that?
I'm telling you, nobody. I do it all the time.
How I lost the toe.
I do it all right.
I always have
problem.
it in stock. Great. I got to change my whole diet now.
Yeah. So look, we're gonna end the show though. For Gunny, for Tigo, for Nick Shine, proud New York Jets fans, Jets Chaos himself, right here. We're gonna go ahead and end the show, even though we have 800 people. How many people? Fucking 500 on Twitter, and it's dwindling on. Yeah. So the YouTube, as soon as I sense the end of the show, it goes. That's it. They're out.
They're like bedtime.
Goodbye.
Well, if they want, they can come over to my channel because my channel, I'm going live as soon as you're done.
10:05.
If they got more, they have more desire for sexy beards.
There you go.
Jeremy.
So that's what we'll do. We're gonna promote. Go over to proud New York Jets fans. Nick Shine. He's gonna talk about lasagna and his hatred therein, for whatever reason, and how he's never tasted gnocchi. Jeremy, what is going on in this world? I don't understand.
I called it Ganucci. That shows how much I know about it.
Yeah,
you called it what?
Ganucci. But yeah, don't forget, guys, the Talking Jets draft party, round 1 of the draft in Farmingdale, Long Island. You can get your tickets in the description or just go to talkingjets.com. Jeremy's going to come. It's not, it is what it is, but there'll be other people there too. We have some special guests showing up that you'll be delighted to see. 3 hours open bar, 3 hours full buffet, crowd cams, giveaways, event specific garb that everybody who gets a ticket gets. It's going to be a fantastic time. I can't wait to do it. And for those that can't make it, we are live streaming like we do every year. It's going to be a great time. Don't forget about the hydration multiplier, Liquid IV. Save yourself 15%. Link is in the description. Use the promo code GreenBeanJetsFan. And with that all said, we're going to get out of here, everybody. And we will see you all next time.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, baby.
I want to kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets, Jets.